Hello everyone, it's Jabbar here. Throughout history, every civilization has had priceless relics that hold cultural, spiritual, or historical significance for its respective peoples. Unfortunately, there have been many times when conquerors have invaded other lands and destroyed or looted these priceless relics for their own personal gain. This was especially prevalent during the imperial era of the 19th and 20th centuries, with many European nations still possessing countless pieces of artwork, arms, and armor to present day that were looted from conquered regions and sold to private collectors and housed in museums. Japan too possesses countless Chinese and Korean artifacts in its collections that were looted during its imperial era. However, in this particular case, we will be discussing a very unique situation. A British relic that was found within the royal burial grounds of African kings. If you have been following my content for a while, you probably know by now that the Ashanti Empire is among my favorites to research and discuss. 2 out of my past 5 videos actually discuss the Ashanti too, so spoiler alert, we're talking about them again today. So the Ashanti Empire is one of the few West African empires during the pre-colonial era to successfully resist incursions of European empires on multiple occasions. Unlike many neighboring states, the Ashanti Empire fully embraced the power and innovations of foreign states while pioneering their own local developments. They retained a core of Muslim scribes to record administrative info, they had a professional army fully equipped with firearms, a complex system of imperial road systems, and they had some of the most sophisticated architecture in all of sub-Saharan Africa, complete with 2 to 3 story structures and even gravity-powered toilets. The Ashanti are often looked upon as a warlike people, which isn't necessarily untrue. In fact, the name Ashanti translates to because of war in their native Tree language. However, one common misconception is that it was in reference to an incessant need or aspiration of warring with others. In reality, it is simply in reference to the founding of their empire, which resulted from a war against the kingdom of Denchira. After the Kwaman and other federated clan states united together and defeated the Denchira in the Battle of Fayasi, they named themselves Ashanti, in reference to the fact that they became what they are because of that fateful war that they fought for their freedom and won against their Denchira overlords. After this war, they modernized their military with firearms, largely imported from coastal Dutch forts, and from there, they formed one of the most highly effective and disciplined military systems in all of pre-colonial West African history. Until the coming of the British, the Ashanti were very seldom defeated in battle, and this trend continued even when facing off against the British themselves in some battles. Oftentimes, waves of malaria were the only barriers to their victories, a mosquito-borne virus that thrives in warm, wet areas prone to stagnant water. Oh, and speaking of warm areas, summertime is pretty much here, and with summer comes hot weather. And unfortunately for our African ancestors, it was always summer and always hot. In some cases, it was the hottest places in the entire world. But fortunately for us, most of us at least, we don't live in the hottest places in the entire world, and we can enjoy the coldest water. The coldest water thermoses can keep your water icy cold for over 36 hours. This is accomplished through its advanced lid technology, which also includes this tiny little puncture hole which lets in just enough air to build up pressure necessary to drink water through its built-in straw, thereby keeping your water much colder, much longer than other thermoses. It's so well insulated that it doesn't even sweat on the outside from condensing water, so everything around it stays dry. Also, if you take it in the water with you, it has a rubber grip and a handle so you can hang onto it easier, and it floats so you won't have to worry about it sinking to the bottom of the water. It fits in most cup holders, bike racks, and cars, and it also comes in multiple sizes. This 32 ounce was more than enough, though admittedly I should probably drink more water, so I might consider getting their 64 ounce or their gallon thermos. You can enter for a chance to win a free gallon thermos at the link down below, or receive a 10% discount on your entire order using my referral link, also down below. So, despite their reputation of being empire builders, the Ashanti people also produced several examples of impressive and delicate works of art. Like the more famous Edo, Yoruba, and Igbo peoples, the Ashanti were experienced metalworkers, primarily creating works of art in brass and gold, which could be created using the lost wax process, or by simply hammering gold foil or sheets to wooden objects. One of the most iconic types of Ashanti art were medallion-like objects known as Akrafokonmu, which literally means soul washer's disc. A soul washer was a high-ranking court official who was hand-picked to protect the king from spiritual harm. They were chosen based on their physical attributes as well as the prerequisite of being born on the same day of the week as the king. The Akrafokonmu itself was a golden disc worn around the neck of the soul washer, which was believed to restore the king's vital life force, which the Ashanti called Kra. The gold itself was thought to be the physical representation of this power. However, soul washers' discs were not the only bodily adornments made of gold. The most striking and obvious form of Ashanti art comes in the form of jewelry. The Ashanti royalty have gold literally from head to toe. Even its modern subnational rulers who reside in the country of Ghana retain this tradition. They wear it around their heads, necks, wrists, fingers, and yes, their toes. With gold being the primary source of wealth for the Ashanti kingdom throughout most of its history, it should come as no surprise that they developed sophisticated and beautiful jewelry with this rare metal. There was so much gold in the region that much of the gold of the Mali Empire and its fabulously wealthy King Mansa Musa originally came from the mines that would later become part of the Ashanti Empire. Another prominent form of Ashanti metallic art was the lidded vessel, or farawa in the Tree language, which served more or less the same purpose as a treasure chest, as it was used by Ashanti royalty to store valuables. While it was primarily a utilitarian object, form was clearly a factor rather than just function. The farawa was typically a box that could take on a rectangular, or more commonly a cylindrical form, with a sloped or dome-shaped top. They would be decorated with intricate designs and reliefs on the outside, which could include animal figures, geometric shapes, or adinkra symbols, the latter being a system of symbols or glyphs used by the Ashanti and other Akan peoples that contain specific meanings or verses. Farawas often included a latch that could be secured with a lock, and in some cases they even included wheels at the bottom for transport. They were composed of bronze, which was constructed utilizing the lost wax process. So when it comes to metalworking, the Ashanti certainly knew what they were doing, and consistently produced beautiful and artistic pieces of both gold and bronze. Most of these priceless treasures were seized by the British after Kumasi, the Ashanti capital, and the royal palace were looted and burned by the forces of General Garnet Wolseley, who invaded the region in 1896. However, there was one bronze object discovered among the contents of the loot that seemed out of place and not of Ashanti manufacture. It was a large ewer or jug with a strange text inscribed on it that no Ashanti could read, but somehow the British could read with limited understanding. That's because it was written in Middle English, which was a stage of development in the language that took place in England between the years of 1150 and 1500. In modern English, the text roughly translates to, "He that will not spare when he may, he shall not spend when he would, and deem the best in every doubt until the truth be tried out." Additionally, the jug bore an English coat of arms that was in use between the years of 1340 and 1405, several centuries before any known contact between the British and the Ashanti, and a full 300 years before the latter was even founded to begin with. This coat of arms was also found on two similar jugs that were later discovered in Kumasi and reunited over the years. The Ashanti ewer was found underneath a sacred tree in the royal mausoleum at Bantama near Kumasi in around 1890. Its location underneath the sacred tree indicates that it was held in high esteem by the Ashanti people, since this particular location is where all Ashanti kings were buried. Even more strange, the Ashanti jug is the largest of the three and in better condition, as it is the only one still retaining the lid. The other two only have the hinges. The retention of the lid on the Ashanti ewer is quite significant, as it provided the only means possible of firmly placing the date of its manufacture to the final years of the 14th century, since that particular style of facets on top of it were only used during the last 8 years of English King Richard II's reign between 1390 and 1399. To this day, just how this jug and the other two made it into the Ashanti hands remains an unsolved mystery, with some scholars speculating that it may have made its way to the region centuries ago through the Trans-Saharan Trade Network, while others postulate that it may have been a diplomatic gift exchange with other African powers. The Ashanti ewer, as well as its sisters, were reclaimed by the British and subsequently placed into museums. For sources, check out my website, linked below. If you'd like to support future projects, you can do so there as well, or by clicking the join button below, or by becoming a patron. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching as usual, and always remember, we don't come from nothing.